Hi, this is Matt Baker. So, the United Kingdom not only has a new king, but also a new prime minister. No, I don't mean Liz Truss. She resigned last week, and just 3 days ago, this man was sworn in as the new prime minister. He's the first person of South Asian descent to hold the role, as well as the first Hindu. So today I'm going to do a quick video on the family tree of Rishi Sunak. Let's start with Sunak's paternal grandfather, Ramdas Sunak. He was born in the city of Gujranwala in the region of Punjab. At the time, Punjab was part of British India, but in 1947 it was split in half, with Gujranwala being located on the side that is now Pakistan. However, about a decade before partition, Ramdas and his wife Suhagrani moved to Kenya. Also born in Punjab was Rishi's maternal grandfather, Raghubir Berry. He was born in Ludhiana, which is now on the Indian side of the border. Like Ramdas, he too immigrated to East Africa with his wife Sraksha. However, they ended up in what is today known as Tanzania. So, although Rishi is of Punjabi descent, his father Yashvir was actually born in Kenya and his mother Usha in Tanzania. However, in the 1960s, both of his parents, along with their parents, moved to the United Kingdom, where Yashvir and Usha ended up settling in Southampton, which is where Rishi was born and raised. His father worked as an NHS doctor and his mother as a pharmacist. Basically, the family ran their own pharmacy as a small business. In addition to their oldest son Rishi, the couple also have a younger son named Sanjay, who is a psychologist, and a daughter named Rakhi, who works for the UN. Rishi was educated at the prestigious boarding school Winchester College and then at Oxford before completing his MBA at Stanford in the US. It was at Stanford that he met his wife, Akshata, daughter of one of the richest couples in India, Narration and Sudha Murty. We'll come back to them in a moment. Before going into politics, Sunak mostly worked in investment banking, including at Goldman Sachs. However, he's now been a member of parliament for 8 years, representing Richmond Yorks. Under Boris Johnson, he served as chief secretary to the Treasury, and then as Chancellor of the Exchequer, one of the highest positions in the UK government. As Chancellor, he has actually already lived at 10 Downing Street, together with his wife and 2 daughters, Krishna and Anushka. Technically, the Prime Minister of the UK is supposed to live at 10 Downing Street, and the Chancellor at 11 Downing Street. But ever since Tony Blair, most of the Prime Ministers have actually opted for the flat above number 11, as it is a bit bigger, leaving number 10 for whoever is the Chancellor. But the Sunaks, since they already used to live in the flat above 10 Downing Street, will be returning there. Okay, so the Murty side of the family is actually more well known on the world stage than the Sunak side. The Murtys are a Brahmin family from Bangalore in South India. Brahmins traditionally being the highest caste in Indian society and originally serving as priests. Narayan Murty founded the highly successful IT company Infosys, and because of that has a personal net worth that is currently approaching $5 billion. His wife Sudha started her career as an engineer, and in fact was the first ever female engineer to be hired by Tata Motors, India's largest auto company. However, she went on to be a fairly prolific author as well. In addition to Akshata, they also have a son named Rohan, who is a businessman. As I mentioned earlier, Akshata studied at Stanford, which is where she met Sunak. In addition to working as a business executive, she also designed clothes for her own fashion label for a while. Currently, she owns about 1% of her father's business, and therefore the couple has a personal net worth of over $1 billion, which is one of the reasons why they can afford to own this National Heritage List manor house in Yorkshire, as well as a few other residences as well. Okay, now before I go, a quick comment about firsts, of which Rishi Sunak is many. For example, he's the first prime minister who's richer than the monarch. Rishi is worth about 1 billion, whereas Charles has a personal net worth of around 600 million. However, that's not counting the extra $28 billion worth of crown assets that Charles gets to play with. Anyway, Sunak is also the first prime minister to be younger than, well, me. And as I mentioned earlier, Sunak is the first British prime minister of South Asian descent, as well as the first Hindu. In fact, he took his oath on a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, and because of his religious beliefs, is both a vegetarian and a non-drinker. However, while he's also being called Britain's first non-white prime minister, there's a bit of a footnote to that. You see, the UK did previously have a prime minister of Jewish descent, Benjamin Disraeli. A lot of people get confused over whether being Jewish is an ethnicity or a religion. Well, the answer is it's both. Although Jews can and do come from a variety of different races and ethnic groups, people who belong to the ethnic groups called Ashkenazim or Sephardim are generally considered to be Jews, regardless of whether or not they actually follow the Jewish religion. In Disraeli's case, he converted to Christianity, but could still be considered a Jew because of his ethnicity. The reverse is also true. I myself am not ethnically Jewish, but because I converted to the religion, I'm considered to be a Jew as well. Then comes the question of whether or not ethnic Jews are white. Well, like I mentioned in my video about Kamala Harris, a person's race or skin color is often determined more by those who seek to racialize people than it is by any kind of scientific measure. So, for many years, Ashkenazi and Sephardi Jews like Disraeli, for example, were in fact considered to be non-white, even though to most people they look, well, white. So, is Rishi Sunak Britain's first non-white prime minister? Well, I'd say that he is. But I think the more important point is that looking at where he was born, how he grew up, where he was educated, and the sorts of things that he does for fun, I think it's also fair to say that he is very, very British. Thanks for watching.